The wind howled across the Arctic tundra, whipping snow into violent curtains that danced beneath the aurora borealis. Dr. Sarah Chen adjusted her thermal goggles, squinting at the anomalous readings on her tablet. The energy signatures were unlike anything she'd seen in 15 years of geological research, pulses that seemed to emanate from deep beneath the ice sheet, defying every known law of physics. "Mom, look." 10-year-old Maya's voice crackled through the radio, excitement cutting through the storm's static. "The ice is glowing." Sarah's head snapped up, heart racing, as she spotted her daughter's small form about 50 meters ahead. Maya stood at the edge of what appeared to be a perfect circle in the ice, its circumference pulsing with a soft blue light that seemed to breathe in rhythm with the aurora above. "Maya, step back," Sarah called, but her words were lost in a sudden deafening crack. The ice beneath Maya's feet splintered, geometric patterns spreading outward like a blooming crystal. Sarah broke into a run, her boots crunching through the fresh snow as the ground began to tremble. Maya stumbled backward just as the circle of ice collapsed inward, revealing not the dark waters of the Arctic Sea, but a chasm that plunged deep into the glacier. And rising from that chasm, wreathed in swirling snow and ancient ice, came something impossible. It emerged slowly, a massive crystalline form that seemed to absorb and reflect the aurora's light. Its body was like liquid diamond, flowing upward until it towered 30 meters above the ice. Multiple limbs, translucent and graceful despite their size, unfurled like the petals of some vast alien flower. At its center, a cluster of eyes opened, each one a swirling galaxy of deep purple and gold. Sarah reached Maya, pulling her daughter close as they stared up at the creature. It was beautiful and terrifying, like nothing human eyes had ever witnessed. The being's form settled, crystalline surface catching, and splitting the aurora's light into countless prismatic fragments that danced across the snow. Then it spoke, not in words, but in vibrations that resonated through their bones and translated themselves directly into thought. "The seal is broken. The time of choice approaches." Maya stepped forward, slipping free of Sarah's grasp. "You're hurt," she said simply, pointing to a deep crack that ran through the creature's crystalline form, leaking what looked like liquid starlight. The being's eyes focused on Maya, galaxies spinning in their depths. "You can see my wound, small one. Few beings in all the cosmos possess such sight." Sarah found her voice, years of scientific training warring with the impossible reality before her. What are you?" "I am the last guardian," the creature responded, its form shimmering like the northern lights above. "I am all that remains of those who once shepherded the younger races of this galaxy. And now, after eons of slumber, I wake to find—" It paused, studying Maya with growing intensity. "To find hope, perhaps, in the most unexpected place." The guardian's form flickered, the crack in its structure spreading slightly. Maya gasped, stepping closer despite Sarah's attempt to hold her back. "You're getting weaker," the girl said. "How long have you been frozen down there?" "Time." The guardian's voice resonated with ancient weariness. "Time flows differently in the deep sleep. But the wound, it was dealt before my slumber, when the great betrayal shattered my kind. I sealed myself here, protecting what lies below, waiting for—" Its eyes fixed on Maya again, waiting for one who might understand the weight of power without being corrupted by it. Sarah's scientific mind raced, trying to process the implications. "There's something else down there. Something you're guarding." Mother to the child of sight, the guardian addressed Sarah directly. "Your world stands at a crossroads. Beneath these ice sheets lies power beyond your species' comprehension. Power that drove my own kind to near extinction. Power that others will come seeking, now that I can no longer maintain the seal." As if in response to its words, the aurora above intensified, its colors shifting to deep crimson. The guardian's form tensed, eyes turning skyward. "They come already. The scavengers. The destroyers. The power-hungry who would repeat our mistakes." "Who's coming?" Sarah demanded, pulling Maya close again. What mistakes? But it was Maya who answered, her voice small but certain. The ones who hurt you. They felt you wake up, didn't they? The guardian's form rippled with something like surprise. Your sight grows clearer, young one. Yes, the descendants of those who shattered my kind sense my awakening. They will come seeking what lies below. But they cannot be allowed to find it. The choice must be made by one untainted by ancient hatreds, by one who can see truth. The ground trembled again, more violently this time. In the distance, Sarah heard the ice cracking, a sound like mountains splitting apart. The guardian's form flickered more severely, the crack in its structure spreading further. "Mom," Maya whispered, tugging at Sarah's sleeve. "Mom, I think it needs our help." The guardian lowered itself, bringing its galaxy-filled eyes level with Maya. What lies below could save or destroy 1,000 worlds, child of sight. I cannot maintain the seal much longer. The choice of its fate will soon fall to another. The question is, its voice resonated with both hope and fear. Are your people ready for such a choice? Before either Maya or Sarah could respond, the northern sky erupted with new lights, not the familiar dance of the aurora, but the harsh glare of massive objects entering the atmosphere. The guardian's form straightened, its crystalline surface hardening into something like armor. "They come," it announced, its voice now carrying notes of both warning and challenge. "And with them comes the moment that will determine not just humanity's fate, but that of all who dwell among the stars." Sarah looked up at the approaching lights, then down at her daughter, who stood unflinching before this ancient being. In Maya's eyes, she saw not fear, but a deep growing understanding of something Sarah herself couldn't yet grasp. The girl reached out, placing one small gloved hand against the guardian's crystalline surface, right next to the gleaming crack. "We'll help you," Maya said simply. "Just tell us how." The guardian's response was lost in a sudden roar from above, as the first of the alien ships began to break through Earth's atmosphere, their arrival heralding the beginning of humanity's greatest test. Military helicopters appeared first, their rotors fighting against the strengthening Arctic winds. The Guardian's crystalline form pulsed with defensive light as spotlights swept across the ice. Sarah pulled Maya behind a ridge of ice, watching as black-clad figures began repelling from the aircraft. "Your warriors come quickly," the Guardian observed, its voice resonating through the ground. "But they cannot stop what approaches from above." High in the atmosphere, the alien ships had begun taking position, their massive forms blocking out the stars like artificial clouds. Their designs were organic, almost predatory, sweeping curves of dark metal that seemed to absorb light rather than reflect it. "Those are the ones who heard you?" Maya asked, her eyes fixed on the ships above. "Their ancestors," the Guardian corrected. "The Void Hunters. Once they were among those we shepherded. Now they seek to claim the very power that destroyed us." Its form flickered again, the crack in its structure spreading further. "But they are not alone." As if summoned by these words, new ships appeared, these ones geometric and precise, their surfaces gleaming like polished chrome. They took up positions opposite the Void Hunters, creating a standoff in Earth's orbit. "The mechanical concordance," the Guardian explained. "They believe themselves to be the rightful inheritors of our knowledge. Both sides would use the weapon below to dominate all other life in the galaxy." Sarah watched as military personnel established a perimeter around the massive hole in the ice. "What exactly is down there?" she asked. "What could be worth all this?" The Guardian's eyes swirled with ancient memories. "We called it the Nexus Key, a device capable of rewriting the fundamental laws of reality within a given space. With it, one could create, or destroy, entire universes." Maya gasped softly. "That's what broke your people apart. Everyone fighting over that kind of power." "We were meant to be guardians, not gods," the crystalline being responded. "Some believed we should use the key to forcibly uplift younger races, to mold the galaxy according to our vision. Others wished to destroy it. The conflict shattered us, and in our civil war, we nearly destroyed everything we had sworn to protect. A military officer was approaching their position now, hands raised in a peaceful gesture. Behind him, soldiers moved into defensive positions, their weapons trained on the Guardian. "Dr. Chen," the officer called out. "I'm Colonel Richards, United Earth Defense Force. We need you and your daughter to step away from the entity." The Guardian's form shifted, one crystalline limb curling protectively near Maya and Sarah. "Your weapons cannot harm me, children of Earth, but neither can I maintain this form much longer. The choice must be made before my strength fails entirely." "What choice?" Sarah demanded. "You keep talking about a choice, but you haven't explained what that means." The ground trembled as the Guardian began to sink slightly, its wound leaking more of the starlight fluid. "The Nexus key cannot be destroyed by conventional means, but neither can it be allowed to fall into the wrong hands. It requires a Guardian, one who can see the truth of its power without being corrupted by it." Maya stepped forward again, despite Sarah's attempt to hold her back. "You mean me, don't you? Because I can see your wound. Because I understand." The Guardian's eyes focused on Maya with incredible intensity. "You have a gift, child of sight. You see beyond surface appearances, beyond prejudice and preconception. Such sight is rare in the cosmos, and precious." Colonel Richards was closer now, his expression tense. Above, the alien ships had begun moving, taking more aggressive positions. "Dr. Chen, please. The situation is more serious than you realize. We've been monitoring these alien vessels for hours. They're armed and their weapons are powered." As if to confirm his words, energy began to crackle between the ships of the Void Hunters and the mechanical concordance. The aurora above twisted and distorted, responding to the building power. "They will destroy your world to claim the key," the Guardian stated. "Unless someone makes a different choice, a better choice." Sarah looked between her daughter and the ancient being, understanding slowly dawning. "You're not just looking for help. You're looking for a successor." The Guardian's form rippled in acknowledgement. "The key cannot exist without a Guardian. But that Guardian must be one who understands the true price of power, not merely its potential for creation or destruction, but its cost to the soul." Maya reached out again, touching the Guardian's wounded surface. Where her hand made contact, the crystalline material seemed to stabilize, the crack momentarily stopping its spread. "It hurts you," she said softly. "Not just the wound, but knowing what the key did to your people, knowing what it could do to others." The Guardian's response was interrupted by a sudden searing light from above. One of the Void Hunter ships had fired, the beam striking a mechanical concordance vessel. The resulting explosion lit up the Arctic sky like a second sun. "They begin," the Guardian announced, its voice heavy with sorrow. "The cycle of violence repeats, unless—" Colonel Richards was shouting now, ordering his troops to defensive positions. The alien ships were descending, their weapons charging. Sarah grabbed Maya's arm, but her daughter stood firm. "Unless someone makes a different choice," Maya finished the Guardian's thought. "Unless someone sees another way." The Guardian's eyes swirled with hope and uncertainty. "The power to create or destroy universes, child of sight. Would you trust yourself with such a burden?" Maya looked up at her mother, then at the battles beginning to rage in the sky above. When she spoke, her voice was clear and steady. "I don't want power. I just want to help. To understand. Isn't that what being the Guardian really means?" The crystalline being's form began to glow more intensely, its light pushing back the shadows cast by the warfare above. "Perhaps," it said, "that understanding is the greatest power of all." In the sky above, the alien ships began their descent, weapons primed to rain destruction upon the Earth. The choice that would determine the fate of galaxies was about to be made, not by those who sought power, but by a child who understood its price. The first shot from the alien ships struck the ice 2 kilometers away, the impact sending shockwaves across the tundra. The Guardian's crystalline form flared with protective energy, creating a dome of iridescent light that sheltered Maya, Sarah, and the nearby military personnel from the blast. "Your world's defenders cannot stop what comes," the Guardian said, its voice strained. "The Void Hunters and Mechanical Concordants possess weapons that could crack this planet's crust. They care nothing for collateral damage." As if to prove its point, more energy beams lanced down from the warring ships above. The ice sheet began to crack and splinter, creating a spider web of fissures that spread outward from the impact points. Colonel Richards was shouting orders into his radio, coordinating with what remained of Earth's orbital defenses. "Our satellites are being destroyed," he reported grimly. "We've lost contact with most major cities. They're systematically isolating us." Maya stepped closer to the Guardian, her small form dwarfed by its massive crystalline structure. "But why? Why destroy so much just to get the key?" The Guardian's eyes swirled with ancient sadness. "Because they believe power is worth any price. They have forgotten what my kind learned too late. That power without wisdom destroys its wielder first." Sarah watched as more military vehicles arrived, their weapons looking pitifully inadequate against the forces gathering above. "You said the key could create or destroy universes. What does that actually mean?" "The key is not merely a weapon," the Guardian explained, its form flickering as it maintained the protective barrier. "It is a tool of fundamental creation. It can reshape reality within its influence, alter the very laws of physics. In the wrong hands, it could unmake entire galaxies. In the right hands, it could heal them." Maya finished, her eyes wide with understanding. "Like how you're protecting us now, but bigger. You could make things better." The Guardian's crystalline surface rippled with surprise. "You understand more than many who have spent millennia studying the key's power." "Yes, child of sight. The key's true purpose was never destruction, but renewal. Yet power corrupts, and absolute power corrupts absolutely," Sarah whispered, quoting the old axiom. Above them, the battle between the alien factions intensified. The Void Hunters' ships moved in aggressive attack patterns, their organic forms seeming to writhe as they fired upon both the mechanical concordance and Earth's surface. The geometric ships of the concordance responded with precise, calculated strikes that lit up the sky with explosive force. "They're getting closer," Colonel Richards warned, his troops taking defensive positions around the massive hole in the ice where the Guardian had emerged. The Guardian's wound pulsed with liquid starlight, the crack spreading further through its form. "I cannot maintain the seal much longer. The key's chamber will soon be exposed. A choice must be made." Maya touched the Guardian's surface again, and as before, the crack seemed to stabilize momentarily. "You keep talking about a choice, but you haven't said what the choice actually is." The Guardian's eyes focused on Maya with intense concentration. "The key requires a guardian, one who can channel and direct its power. For eons, my kind served this role, until our civil war proved us unworthy. Now, as the last of my kind, I must choose: pass on this responsibility to another, or let the key's power die with me." "Die." Sarah stepped forward, her scientific curiosity overriding her fear. "You mean the key's power is connected to you somehow?" "The key and Guardian are one," the crystalline being explained. "A power cannot exist without purpose, without direction. Without a Guardian to channel it wisely, it would collapse into itself, taking much of this galaxy with it." A massive explosion rocked the ice field as a Void Hunter ship crashed nearby, its dark surface crackling with energy. The Guardian's protective barrier flickered but held. "Time grows short," it announced. "The wound I suffered in the Great War weakens me. Soon, I must either transfer guardianship or allow the power to fade. But understand, becoming a guardian means bearing the weight of countless worlds. It means seeing the truth of all things, feeling the pain and joy of entire civilizations." Maya looked up at the battles raging overhead, then back at the ancient being before her. "Is that why you chose to hibernate here?" to wait for someone who could handle that kind of responsibility. The Guardian's form pulsed with approval. Earth is young among the stellar nations, your people unbound by the ancient hatreds that plague older races. And you, child of sight, you see with unclouded eyes. You understand power not as a means of control, but as a tool for healing. Another explosion lit up the sky, closer this time. The mechanical concordance ships had begun a controlled descent, their weapons targeting the ice around the Guardian's position. The Void Hunters responded by intensifying their attack, their ships moving to surround the area. "Mom," Maya said suddenly, turning to Sarah. "Remember what you always tell me about your research, about how the most important discoveries come from asking the right questions." Sarah nodded, her throat tight with emotion, as she began to understand what her daughter was considering. "Maya, the key doesn't have to be a weapon, does it?" Maya asked the Guardian. "Just like your power isn't really about fighting or destroying, it's about protecting, about understanding." The Guardian's crystalline surface blazed with inner light. "You begin to truly see, child. But the burden would be immense. You would never again know a normal life. You would become something both more and less than human." Colonel Richards approached, his expression grave. "Dr. Chen, we're picking up energy signatures from those ships unlike anything we've ever seen. Whatever they're planning, it's big. We need to evacuate now." But Maya stood her ground, her young face set with determination. "Sometimes the hardest choice is the right one," she said, quoting something Sarah had told her long ago. "And sometimes understanding is more important than being understood." The Guardian's form began to pulse with rhythmic light, its wound leaking more stellar fluid as it struggled to maintain its protective barrier. Above, the alien ships had begun a final attack pattern, their weapons charging for what looked like a devastating strike. "The moment comes," the Guardian announced, its voice resonating with both hope and warning. "Child of sight, are you prepared to bear this burden? To see truths that few can comprehend? To stand as guardian not just of power, but of possibility itself?" The choice that would reshape galaxies hung in the balance, as humanity's youngest champion faced her greatest test. The sky above the Arctic had become a canvas of destruction, alien weapons fire painting deadly patterns across the aurora. But in the eye of this storm, a small human girl stood before an ancient crystalline being, about to make a decision that would echo across galaxies. "I accept," Maya said simply, her voice steady despite the chaos around them. Sarah reached for her daughter. "Maya, wait. Your mother fears for you," the Guardian observed, its galaxy-filled eyes swirling with understanding. "As she should. What comes next cannot be undone." Maya turned to Sarah, and in her daughter's eyes, Sarah saw something both familiar and strange, a wisdom far beyond her 10 years. "Mom, remember when you first taught me about the aurora? How it's really particles dancing with our atmosphere, creating something beautiful from something we can't even see." Sarah nodded, tears freezing on her cheeks in the Arctic wind. "That's what this is about," Maya continued. "Seeing the beautiful thing that could be, even when everyone else just sees a weapon." The Guardian's crystalline form pulsed with approval, but before it could speak, a massive explosion rocked the ice field. The Void Hunters and Mechanical Concordance had synchronized their attacks, their combined firepower focused on breaking through the Guardian's protective barrier. "The transfer must begin now," the Guardian announced, its wound leaking more stellar fluid. "But know this, child of sight. To become a Guardian is to see all things as they truly are. Every joy, every pain, every possibility in every moment. Are you certain?" Maya stepped forward, placing both hands on the Guardian's crystalline surface. "I'm ready." Colonel Richards shouted a warning as the alien ships unleashed another barrage. But this time something was different. The Guardian's form began to glow with impossible brightness, its light drowning out even the explosions above. The crack in its structure, instead of spreading further, began to fill with a new kind of light, one that seemed to flow from Maya's small hands. "Mom," Maya called out, her voice changing, becoming layered with harmonics that echoed across dimensions. "Mom, I can see everything." Sarah watched, heart pounding, as her daughter's form began to shimmer, becoming somehow more than purely physical. Light coursed through Maya's veins, turning her skin translucent, her eyes filling with the same galactic swirls as the Guardian's. "The transfer begins," the Guardian announced, its voice growing fainter as its power flowed into Maya. With it comes the true sight, the ability to see not just what is, but what could be. All possibilities, all potential futures. Maya gasped, her body arching as the power filled her. "There's so much, so many threads of light connecting everything. I can see why they fight, why they're afraid. They've forgotten how to see the spaces between the light." The alien ships above had ceased their attack, their sensors detecting the massive energy transfer taking place below. Both the Void Hunters and Mechanical Concordants began broadcasting messages in various languages, their words overlapping in a cacophony of demands and threats. But Maya wasn't listening to them. Her consciousness had expanded far beyond the confines of the Arctic battlefield. "I can see them all. Every world, every species, every hope and fear. They're all connected, all part of the same dance. Like the aurora, but across entire galaxies." The Guardian's form was becoming increasingly transparent as its power transferred to Maya. "Yes, child. You begin to understand the true purpose of the key. Not to rule, but to reveal. Not to destroy, but to illuminate." Sarah watched in awe as her daughter's transformation continued. Maya's feet had lifted slightly off the ice, her entire body suffused with starlight. But beneath the otherworldly changes, Sarah could still see her little girl, the same determined set of her jaw, the same compassionate light in her eyes. "The Void Hunters," Maya said, her voice echoing with new understanding. "They're not evil. They're scared. Their worlds are dying, their stars going dark. They think the key could save them." She turned her gaze to the geometric ships above. "And the Concordants. They see chaos everywhere. They think control is the only answer. But they're both missing the real power." "And what is the real power?" the Guardian asked, its form now barely visible. Maya smiled, and in that smile was the wisdom of ages combined with the simple clarity of a child. "Connection. Understanding. The power isn't in changing reality. It's in seeing how everything is already perfectly connected." As she spoke these words, something extraordinary happened. The light emanating from Maya began to change, no longer just flowing into her, but radiating outward in complex patterns. Where it touched the ice, frozen fractals formed, beautiful crystalline structures that seemed to sing with their own inner harmony. The alien ships above began to lower their weapons as their sensors registered something they'd never encountered before. Not just raw power, but power transformed through understanding into something entirely new. "You see truly," the Guardian whispered, its form now little more than a shimmer in the air. "The key was never meant to be a weapon of war or a tool of control. It was meant to be a lens, a way to see the underlying unity of all things." Maya nodded, tears of starlight trailing down her cheeks. "And once you see it, you can't help but want to protect it, to help others see it too." The Guardian's last words came as barely a whisper. "And that, child of sight, is why you were always meant to be its guardian." With that, the ancient being's form dissolved completely, its essence merging with the light that now filled Maya. The transformation was complete, but it wasn't an ending. It was a beginning. Maya turned to Sarah, and though her eyes now held galaxies, her smile was still that of a child filled with wonder. "Mom, I understand now why you always said the most beautiful discoveries are the ones that show us how everything's connected." Sarah stepped forward, her scientific mind struggling to process what she was witnessing. "Maya, are you still you?" "I'm me," Maya assured her, reaching out with a hand that shimmered with starlight. "Just more. I can see so much more. and I know what needs to be done." Above them, the alien ships hung suspended, their weapons powered down, as if they too were waiting to see what this impossible child would do with power that had shattered civilizations. The choice had been made. Now it was time to show the galaxy what wisdom looked like through the eyes of a child who could see the light between the stars. Maya rose higher into the air, starlight flowing through and around her in complex patterns that mirrored the aurora above. The alien ships hung motionless in the sky, their weapons silent as their sensors struggled to comprehend what their ancient warfare had unleashed. "They're all watching," Maya said, her voice carrying harmonics that made the ice below vibrate in sympathetic resonance. "Not just these ships, but others too. Across thousands of light years, they're all seeing this moment." Sarah stepped forward, snow swirling around her feet. "What do you mean? What are they seeing?" Maya smiled, and in that smile was both the wisdom of ages and the simple joy of discovery. "They're seeing what happens when you look at power through different eyes. Watch." She raised her hands, and the starlight flowing through her expanded outward in a sphere of pure radiance. But instead of destroying or transforming, the light revealed, within its glow, everyone present, human and alien alike, could suddenly see what Maya saw. The connections became visible, threads of light linking every particle, every person, every ship in orbit. The Void Hunters' dying worlds appeared as dim stars in a vast network of life. The mechanical concordance's fears manifested as dark knots in an otherwise harmonious pattern. "Your worlds are dying," Maya addressed the Void Hunters, her voice carrying to their ships through channels that transcended normal communication. "But look, the solution isn't in destroying or conquering. It's already there, in the spaces between." The light shifted, revealing stellar nurseries and cosmic threads that the Void Hunters had never noticed, hidden resources and possibilities they had overlooked in their desperate search for power. "And you," she turned her attention to the mechanical concordance, "seek to impose order on chaos. But look closer. The chaos is part of the pattern. It's what makes the harmony possible." Through her sight, they could see how their quest for perfect order had blinded them to the natural rhythms of the cosmos, the beautiful dance of creation that required both structure and freedom. Colonel Richards and his troops lowered their weapons, struck by the vision Maya was sharing. Sarah watched as her daughter, now both more and less than human, rewrote the story of power itself. "The key was never meant to change reality," Maya explained, her words carrying the weight of profound understanding. "It was meant to help us see reality as it truly is, all connected, all part of the same dance. Like the particles in the aurora, making something beautiful together that none of them could make alone." The light emanating from Maya began to pulse in a new pattern, and with each pulse, understanding spread. The Void Hunters saw paths to rejuvenate their dying worlds through cooperation rather than conquest. The mechanical concordance recognized the rhythm and reason within apparent chaos. "This is humanity's gift to the galaxy," Maya declared, her voice carrying echoes of the ancient guardian's wisdom, but transformed through the lens of human experience. Not power over reality, but the ability to see wonder within it. To understand that the greatest strength comes not from changing what is, but from seeing what could be. The alien ships began to move, but not in attack patterns. The organic forms of the Void Hunters and the geometric precision of the concordance started a new dance in the sky, their movements harmonizing in ways their peoples had thought impossible for millennia. Sarah felt tears freezing on her cheeks as she watched her daughter become something new, not a weapon of war or an instrument of control, but a bridge between understanding and possibility. "The Guardian chose well," Colonel Richards murmured, watching the scene unfold. "We've been so focused on defending ourselves, we never considered that our greatest contribution might be how we see things." Maya descended slowly, her feet touching the ice as the light continued to flow through and around her. She was still recognizably herself, a 10-year-old girl with her mother's curious eyes and determined spirit, but she was also something more, something the galaxy had been waiting for without knowing it. "Mom," she said, turning to Sarah with a smile that bridged worlds. "Remember when you said that the best scientists don't just discover new things, they help others see familiar things in new ways?" Sarah nodded, stepping forward to embrace her daughter despite the starlight that still coursed through her form. "I remember. That's what humanity can offer the galaxy. Not just knowledge or power, but perspective. The ability to see wonder where others see only resources to fight over, to find connection where others see only separation." Above them, the alien ships had begun departing, but not in retreat. They'd moved with purpose, spreading out across the stars to share what they had learned. The age of warfare over the key's power was ending, replaced by something far more profound. An era of shared vision and understanding. "What happens now?" Sarah asked, holding her transformed daughter close. Maya's eyes, still swirling with galaxies, turned to the horizon where the aurora painted possibilities across the sky. "Now we show them what else we can see. All the beautiful things hiding in plain sight, waiting to be discovered. After all," she added with a grin that was pure Maya, "that's what scientists do, right?" The Arctic wind carried the sound of her laughter across the ice, the sound of a child who had taken the power to reshape universes and instead chosen to help others see the wonder in the universe that already existed. It was humanity's gift to the cosmos, the wisdom to understand that the greatest power isn't in changing reality, but in changing how we see it. And in the light between the stars, a new story was beginning.